So Randy, here's the big question.
Yeah.
Did your team make you happy?
Well, let's just say I enjoyed the game. I don't really root for either team, but I am an AFC guy because I grew up in New England and the Patriots. So there's that. But yeah, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl and how we can kind of tie that into the job search and such. So lots to cover on a Monday, the day after Super Bowl, and we're into football withdrawal. I don't know about you, but I am.
Well, but here's what I heard on
There's
Sunday.
an app for that, though, but yeah.
For me on Sunday, I heard ACC basketball starting up big time.
Yeah.
So I made that transition.
Yeah, it's happening, and golf is coming. Hey, by the way, Randy Wooden with Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina. I'm the director for our professional center. If you haven't heard of us, then, well, if you're in a job search, you need to, because we're happy to help and we're pretty good at it. We love to help people get to where they want to go. We do work by appointment. We're free. Find me on LinkedIn, reach out to me. And again, we do work by appointment. So we'll get you on the calendar and see what we can do to help get to where you want to go. Teddy, who are you? What are you doing over there anyway?
Before you tell us about the history of what happened on this day, for those who don't know me, I'm Teddy Burriss. I'm a LinkedIn strategist, teaching people how to use tools like LinkedIn and Google Workspace as business tools. Yep. Working out of Winston-Salem, North by golly, Carolina. And I love to do it every week. Randy and I get together for a Monday conversation. We're doing a little bit different day. We're going Uber live today. And as we tell you some of our stories and some tips, and we introduce our Wednesday special guests. So Randy, what happened today in history, buddy?
Well, it is Valentine's Day. So Teddy, I don't know if you got your Valentine any.
I did. Thanks for sending it to me, buddy.
Yeah, you took care of that. I think even as a kid, we all remember the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Remember that back in Chicago. The year was 1929. And it's rumored that it was Al Capone's directive, but 7 mobsters in Chicago were gunned down. And I remember that as a kid, not that I was alive then, but I remember the pictures of it. That's one. But here's another one for you. We all talk about Southern Bell, or we talk about AT&T. We've got all of the Bell companies. Yeah. Well, we've all heard of Alexander Graham Bell, hopefully, and that's where the Bell
he made that
comes from. He did. I got to love that. I need to get one of those. So here's the deal. Back in the year 1876, on the same day, Alexander Graham Bell and Elisha Gray, those two gentlemen both submitted an application for a telephone patent. And it went to the Supreme Court, and ultimately the court sided with Bell. But just think, we could have talked about the Gray companies instead of Bell. So those are a couple of things that happened. And in terms of birthdays, Frederick Douglass was born on this date in history, and also from the, I guess, somewhat infamous category, Jimmy Hoffa. Whereabouts unknown. Yep. But he was born also on this date in history. So let's talk story. And again, big deal yesterday. So the Super Bowl, I remember as a kid, first one I remember was actually still the AFL NFL World Championship game. It was the Jets taking on the Colts, and Joe Namath, and just the whole legitimacy of the league changed when the AFL finally broke through and won. But back then it was a big deal, but it was somewhat localized. It just wasn't on the scale that you see today. And you think about all of the pageantry. It's an event that captures more viewers than any other event in the world. I think it beats the World Cup, at least as far as one single event. It's the single most watched event worldwide, and we're talking globally. So it's not just here in North America and Europe. But you think about all of the preparation that went into that, and I watched it for hours and hours during. It was on TV, and it just, from time to time, I just say, hey, you know what? Somebody had to sit down and plan a lot of that stuff out. And you think about all of that planning and just how intricate a lot of that is to pull it off. And it wasn't perfect. There were some snafus, and I get that. But you talk about, in business, we talk about project management. And it's one thing to talk about widgets and having delivery and this and that, but you're dealing now with people. Yeah. And I call it herding cats. It can be a challenge. And you've got contingency, plus you have the security issues and just a whole wealth of things. And I've got to think on one level, a lot of folks are just glad it's over. You know, it was a huge event, a huge success. And while my Patriots didn't make it, I'm okay with that. I was rooting for the Bengals, but I wanted to see a nice close game. And I did. So what's your story, Teddy? What you got going on there?
Hey, I watched parts of the game. I did not get a chance to watch the whole game. I had other things going on. Randy, were there any officiating snafus that burned that event or not?
You mean the referees and the officials that messed it up? Yeah. There's a little controversy about that, but you know, it happens. There was a guy that ran on the field. They wouldn't show it, but I got to see some photos afterward. He was not a streaker, but he was waving a white flag, and he ran almost the length of the field, and they had to tackle him and all that. But again, it's a big event, and it attracts people who aren't necessarily football fans. And of course, there's the whole commercials, and I couldn't tell you a single commercial. It was on, but I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I get it. So good. So, hey, here's my story. I had a conversation with a client this morning, and I'm like, wow, there are so many people who don't invest the energy or the patience or the deliberateness. That's the word, deliberateness, to measure success at the right spaces. Now, here's what I mean. We all measure success. Randy knows me, and you know, those who know me, my success is the $63 million portfolio I've got in my mind. You know, so we all measure success based on the big numbers. We measure success based on the rewards we get, but we don't measure success at the steps that we have to do to get there. And this, I call them, they're called KPIs, key performance indicators. And key performance indicators are not just the end result, the P&L or the bank account. Key performance indicators are how we measure the steps that we take to get there. And if you're not measuring the steps and you're just measuring the end, then at the end you go, well, I didn't make it. Well, you've got to measure the steps that you took to get there. And one of this conversation is about using LinkedIn as a business tool. And my very deliberate message is this: you need to know who your target audience is. Whatever your purpose is, job search or looking for a business, you need to measure, are you getting connected to the right people? And if you're not getting, and how many of these people are you getting connected to, introduced to? Might even be another step. How many people are you getting introduced to through your network? And then how many people are you connecting with of those introductions? And then the third measure is how many conversations are you getting into with the people you connected with who you got introduced to? And if you can't, in LinkedIn and job search and business development and prospecting, if you can't measure how many people are you getting introduced to, how many people are you connecting with, and how many conversations are you having, then all you're measuring is, hey, I got people in my lead bucket. I got people in my pipeline. So think about what your KPIs are in your own career search, business development, business growth, whatever. What are you measuring? If you're just measuring the end result, you're missing opportunities to get better. Measure those stepping stones. That's my rant this morning, Randy. I got to do it early this morning, and I got to do it again just now.
Get it out of your system. Hey, coming up on Wednesday the 16th, a couple of days from now, our lunch show at 11:55 a.m. Eastern Time. Lunch with Randy and Teddy. This week, we have a couple of panelists that will join us from Marsh McLennan Agency. We'll have Debbie Reynolds and Ryan Wilcox. So what are we going to talk about? Well, we all know it's competitive out there for companies to attract and to retain workers. It's tough. And you can only pay people so much. At some point, you know, there's just the numbers just don't work. So what about benefits? We're going to talk benefits this week. We're going to talk about what are some trends that we're seeing out there that companies are maybe being a little more on the innovative side. What are they offering? that kind of a thing. And if I'm a job seeker, what are some good questions I need to be asking to understand what I'll call the cash value or the overall compensation amount? It's not just salary. What do those benefits equate to? What are good questions you should ask to see if this company is really competitive with their benefits? And if you happen to be an employer or a hiring manager, you're going to come up with some ideas and tips from these folks to understand what else is happening out there in the marketplace. What are some innovative things that perhaps your company might try to be able to attract and retain folks? So again, we've got Ryan Wilcox, Debbie Reynolds, both of Marsh McLennan Agency, and that'll be on Wednesday at 11:55.
Oh, cool. So, Randy, when we started talking to Debbie and Ryan about being on the show, I went to my boss and I put my foot down, buddy. I said, look, if I don't get the key to the executive washroom, if I don't get access to the Learjet, if I do not get an F-150 Lariat, 4-door, 4-wheel drive sport edition, I'm walking. She opened the front door and we started renegotiating a little bit. So anyway, but that's important. This whole conversation about benefits is important beyond my satire with my wife. So, yeah. So, hey, here's my tip. Don't negotiate like Teddy does. Well, this guy got a better tip.
All right.
And that is PAR statements. PAR stands for problem, project, action, result. Mm-hmm. And again, regardless of whether or not you're in career search or business development or running a business or growing a business or entrepreneur, you've got to be able to express to people what you can do, what mm-hmm. you have done, what you've accomplished, relevant to what it is that you want people to know about you. And one way to do that is to use the perspective that was originally developed for resumes. And you can mm-hmm. use this again on your LinkedIn profile, on your brochures, your marketing content, your stories, but you write the story about a problem or a project that someone had, probably an employer, maybe a client. Then you talk about the action. What did you do? And then you end that statement with the results. How did your actions mm-hmm. focused on that problem or project create business value? How did it create success in some way or another? So think about PAR statements. If you don't know how to write a PAR statement, message me. I'll send you an article on PAR statements. Problem, project, action, result. Use them, and it's a better way to tell a story about what you can do. So,
sure.
So cool.
I got a tip for you. Actually, this goes back to the Super Bowl, and at the end of the game, for those who watched the game, the Rams won. They beat the Bengals. It was a close game and could have come down to a tie at the end had the Bengals been able to kick a field goal. The MVP of the game was wide receiver Cooper Kupp, who was a nobody coming out of high school and college, going into college. Nobody wanted him. I don't think he got any. If he had one or two, I'm shocked as far as Division I scholarships. I mean, he was just off the radar entirely. And he was somebody who worked and worked and worked and worked and worked and worked and worked to get to the level that he is now, which is really, he's probably the top dog in terms of wideouts, wide receivers in the NFL. And so anyway, he was the MVP of the Super Bowl. And I remember at the end of the Super Bowl, they asked Matthew Stafford, the quarterback, talking about how did you put all this together at the end at crunch time? How did you execute? And he basically said, look, we kind of made it look easy in some ways, but this was hours and hours and hours and hours of practice.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to your job search and it's time to execute, when the game is on, the pressure is on, I think the more that you've practiced those good habits, whether it's interview skills or networking or what have you, to get to where you need to be, put the time in. Yeah. And do it effectively. If you're not doing it effectively and you're just repeating bad habits, reach out to Teddy, reach out to me, reach out to others that might be able to help you. But again, the difference between winning and losing sometimes is very, very small. And a lot of that, it comes down to execution when it's crunch time. So anyway, Teddy, I think that's it. Unless you've got anything else, I gotta
go back and tell my wife I apologize for challenging her.
I think I saw her pack your bags there out on the front porch. You better be careful. Join us on Wednesday, the 16th. We'll have from Marsh McLennan Agency. We'll have Ryan Wilcox and Debbie Reynolds. They'll join us 11:55. We hope you will join us and learn all about benefits and how companies are being more innovative in attracting and retaining employees. Folks, have a great day. Be safe, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Take care, buddy. Bye.
Yep.